Hello, everyone. Once again, I have got very important guests with me, and we are going to have a conversation with each other with a topic that is very close to my heart, and that is LGBTQAI plus and their beliefs, their sufferings, and the hope that they hold for all of us and in all the countries and in the future and in the present. Dear friends, let me introduce you to Siddhart Naidu, who is a clinical psychologist in New Zealand, practicing in Wellington. He's a couple therapist and a sex therapist, and my colleague and a great researcher from India, Banaras Hindu University, Professor Dr. Tushar Singh, who has been doing a lot of good work for LGBTQAI community in his academic research. So, two great stalwarts with me over here right now, and I'm going to moderate the discussion. So, let's start with Siddharth. Siddharth, you yourself have a lived experience as you belong to the same community, and now you are in a happy marriage with your partner for last 26 years, living in New Zealand, which has not only decriminalized but also destigmatized and legalized gay marriages. And it has, and now in New Zealand, people live normally with, these kind of marriages, and there is no discrimination at all. So, how has been your own journey through this experience?
Well, firstly, I wasn't born in New Zealand. I was born in Singapore, which had, at that time, very similar laws to what India would have had about a year ago. So it was criminal.
Yeah.
Uh,
Please
so,
hold the mic a little
yeah,
closer.
it was criminal at that time. And when I moved to New Zealand, that was in 1997, that was at about a time where I couldn't see a future in Singapore because I could lose my job as a TV producer working with the Ministry of Education if I had come out. So I moved to New Zealand, and that's where I met my future partner. What was that journey like? When I did come out, I was rejected by family. I was rejected by the church that I belonged to. And I came to New Zealand and I was on my own. So I had to restart making friends. But again, I had not come out of the closet, so to speak. Everybody knew who I was at university, but I just kept to myself in terms of what my sexual identity was. Things got to a point where in 1999, and I still remember that night, 1999, December the 31st, TV was on. Everybody was celebrating the start of the new millennium. And I was seated in the garden all alone, thinking I had been rejected by the groups, by my friends, by everyone, and even my partner, who did not quite understand what was going on for me because I kept it all to myself. And that night, I had to make a decision. Do I live or do I die?
Oh my
It would have
God.
been so much easier to end my suffering that night. But there was a voice inside of me that just resisted taking that action. And I decided I'll just stay with it and stay with it. And I stayed with it until the next morning when I saw the sun rise. And then suddenly it dawned on me, this is a new beginning. I can put the past behind me. The past will belong to the previous millennium. The new millennium is something totally new.
Yeah.
And that is the impetus for me to move forward. We got married subsequently, my partner and I, and New Zealand society also went through a different trajectory in terms of acceptance
Yes,
of the
yes.
LGBT community. It was criminal before, it got decriminalized in 1983, and then marriage equality came on in 2005. So we got the civil union first. We didn't quite go to the marriage process because we felt it was not necessary.
I want to pause you.
Yeah.
You used the term marriage equality. Can you elaborate it on a bit, and then go further in
Sure.
your narrative?
Yeah, because civil union was a special category that was created for those who didn't go through the marriage process. In some countries, like in Singapore, we had what is called a traditional marriage and a legal marriage. That means you didn't want to have any religious associations with it, but you go through the legal matter of two people coming together, signing forms, and then having a little celebration. In New Zealand, didn't have that. It was only the traditional way. And so civil union was created for those individuals. It was not specific to the LGBT community, though they were a target. But it's also for those who didn't want to go through traditional marriages, heterosexual marriages, and they just went through this signing ceremony. It was only a few years later that they came up with marriage equality. That means to say we are at par with someone who is married. And in which case you could adopt children, or you could have children, you could have families, that sort of thing. And we made the decision not to have children, but we've got 3 lovely dogs who are our children, and we treat them like children. The journey forward from there was for me going back to university and retraining myself. And at that time, because my history was with television, I went straight into doing a degree in television production, film, and that sort of thing. And but I did a double major, and I did psychology as well. And from there, I got selected, and then I went full time into clinical psychology, got my master's, and started practicing. I started off in the hospital, working with alcohol and drug addicts, working in rehabilitation, and also working in elder health. So that's my start. From there, I went back to university. This time, I was training clinical psychologists in the final year, the interns who would become psychologists. So I spent about 3 years with that, and subsequently left, then started up my clinic.
Yeah.
Today, that clinic has been around for 14 years, and my partner, who still does some work in the hospital, who's also a clinical psychologist, by the way, and we are now moving into that next stage of our lives where we're both working together in the clinic and providing services. The kind of work that I do is quite varied. Being in private practice, you get to choose which streams you want to go into.
Yeah.
And I chose for the idea of going through the usual, what we call the coughs and colds of mental health, anxiety, depression, and associated stuff. But also, I started to specialize. And that's when there was this lady in New Zealand who had just started training people to be sex therapists.
Okay.
And I joined them. And I became a sex therapist. And it opened up a whole new world for me, because it meant I could not just do sex therapy per se, but I could do couples therapy.
Yeah.
And these couples were not only heterosexual couples, but also gay couples.
Gay couples.
As well.
And they could relate to you more, and
Yeah.
you could understand their underpinnings of their sufferings.
You are an insider.
Yeah.
And the interesting aspect of the work is that when individuals and couples from India come over to Wellington, I'm there. Because I understand what it's like to be growing up going through Indian culture, and understanding what they're going through as well. So they are able to converse with me. So deal with individuals who have sexual problems, dysfunctional problems. I also deal with individuals who come through the court system because of sexual offending. You see? So therapy for them and also assessments so that they can present it before the courts.
Yeah.
So that's been my work.
Your work.
Yeah.
Great. Siddharth, I have such a lot to discuss with you, but I would like you to share the mic with Dr. Tushar first, and let's see what he has to say about his experience.
Thank
Hold
you,
the mic a
Siddharth.
little closer.
Thank you, Siddharth. It's wonderful listening about your journey. I had started working with this population since the year around 2007. Our initial work was with transgenders, but then slowly we moved to be more inclusive and we covered all sexual identity groups. I have been studying their sufferings, not only the social stigma, their problems of coming out, rejections, which you rightly said, but also more recently I have started understanding their problems related to the health severity, which you rightly said it's available in New Zealand. And in our recent study, we found that although law is there, it is decriminalized by Supreme Court, but I don't think any change at the field level is there.
At the
Still,
attitude
yeah,
level.
attitude level is there. People are still stigmatized when they visit to a hospital setup. They are stigmatized. Nurses don't want to treat people who have identified themselves as gay. Doctors don't want to see them. They don't have separate facilities which caters to their problems, and this has come out very prominently in our work. I know as a society we have to grow
A lot.
a lot, and it is going to take time. But I am very interested in taking this moment to at least place on record how a person who is suffering can make things for better for himself or herself.
Yes.
As we all understand, society will take time. But if the person have or develop their personal strength and resilience, definitely they can make their world better.
Yes.
So pardon me for taking you back to the point where you said on that night you were
1999,
either
31st December.
yes, either you wanted to live or die. Believe me, everyone in India is at the same point. So I would like you to kindly elaborate more. If a person you see, both from your personal experience as well as the experience you have as a clinical psychologist, if a person is at that point, how he or she can help himself or herself to grow from there in the positive direction which you took rather than ending their life.
Yeah.
Could you
Yeah.
please?
One of the things that, and this is only in reflection, not at that time, one of the things that came to mind was that life demands to be lived. And you can only experience all the things you experience in life if you're alive,
Exactly. Including the pain.
including the pain. So you cannot have a life, cannot be partial to only having happiness and joy. You've also got to have pain. And that is part of living. When you die, you have nothing. And it closes off all opportunities for any growth. And so that was a realization I think I had at that time, that I can achieve a lot more being alive than dead, no matter what the world said, no matter as much as the world rejected me, or I felt that the world rejected me, because there were one or two bright sparks. You know, all of us have a mentor of sorts. My mentor was my mother. Because in that period where the family was rejecting me, she was approached by someone in church who said, "Your son is the same.
Is the?
Is the same. He is the same. He has not changed. You just learned something new about him. He will always be your son." And that was a turning point for her. That she approached me, and we had this long conversation after the new year. And I was so glad that I stayed alive to listen to that,
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah,
it
and
was
the
reaffirming.
parents also go through a lot. I mean,
Yes,
when
yes.
because they don't expect this,
They
at
don't.
all. And I'm sure your mother must have gone through a lot when you came out.
Yeah,
You know.
she did. And I could understand why, because she just heard the news.
Yes.
So she needed time
Hmm.
to process it.
it. Yeah.
Your parents, the people who reject you, they need time. Society needs time to process it.
And we can't blame them entirely because the ecosystem is such that
Exactly.
this is something novel, and it has got a threat attached to it, something of that sort attached to it. So the societies are taking their own time, as he
Yeah.
said. But what he meant to ask you was, while you were in that, going through that night of, rejection and hopelessness and despair, what thoughts might have crossed your mind, which actually made you live to witness the dawn and the sunrise, and because that could have a universal therapeutic value for people who are going through those circumstances. Can you recollect
I can.
that?
I can.
Yeah.
I think, and now I recollect it with the benefit of experience,
Yeah.
of understanding what
Yeah.
might have been going on.
Hmm.
And I think it is about just staying with it.
Hmm.
Just be with it. It is
Hmm.
not going to be forever.
Yeah.
It's only 24 hours
Hmm.
before you start to see the new day. In fact, not 24 hours, 12 hours.
12 hours. Yeah.
You see, until this day,
Hmm.
whenever I celebrate Pongal,
Hmm.
I always remember it's because of the sun rising
Hmm.
that it gives light.
Hmm.
And when it gives light,
Hmm.
you can see better.
Hmm.
It's in the darkness that you can't see. You grope.
Yeah.
You try to make sense of things.
Hmm.
But it is in the darkness that you can also see stars.
Yes.
If we look at the stars, that's how the mariners of the old traveled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
they didn't have a sun to do it, but and the stars you can't see during the day,
Yeah.
because the
So,
only star you can
so-
see is the sun.
So let me repeat and emphasize for our audience what you just said, and what the famous suicidologist Schnittman also says. When you have those thoughts, stay with them. Don't act on them.
Yeah.
Because most of the suicides can be prevented
Yes.
with the passage of time, because the action that takes your life is impulsive in nature, is something that is compels you to take. But if you can just let some time pass, even if it is not 12 hours, even if it is maybe a few minutes,
Yep.
that impulse will go.
Exactly.
And you lived on to represent that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, yes. And I want to emphasize that point about the impulsivity of that decision making. We tend at that point when we are hopeless to be impulsive, because we feel that it doesn't matter which way you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it does matter which way
It
you
does.
go.
It does.
One is in light, the other one is in total darkness, eternal darkness.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's the message of hope I bring to those who are in that position. Society will take time. That's the same thing with New Zealand. You can have the law, but it took a while,
Yeah.
But I feel that because we are a society of immigrants in New
Yes.
Zealand, we have built into our DNA this idea that we can change. We can try new things. We don't have to be stuck with what Europe did or whichever other country we all came from. We're here to start a new life. And so they're more accepting, very much like the Nordic countries.
Yeah.
They were far ahead of the rest of the world. You see, we don't have to be caught up with the culture wars in America. between the conservatives and the liberals. We can have our own life here.
True.
And once we start to realize that, I think one of the most beautiful things that happened when we got marriage equality was that the people who fought for it were in parliament, and they all joined hands together and they sang. They sang a Maori song that bound everyone together. That it was, we've done it. Now society will fall into place. In New Zealand, doctors can't reject the patient because they say they're gay, because it's built into their code of practice.
Yes.
The medical council builds it. So you cannot discriminate someone on the basis of their race, of their religion,
Or
and of
their
their sexual
sexual
orientation.
orientation.
It's built into it. So it's not just the law that decriminalizes something, but it's got to be built into their codes of practice that they follow.
Yeah.
You can't have a psychologist who says, I'm not going to treat someone.
Yes.
Yes.
You can refer them on if you really feel strongly about it, but you don't take on someone holding on to a belief system.
To your own belief
Yeah,
systems and biases. And one thing that I want to ask you, when we talk about LGBTQ people, especially homosexual males, the perception of people is all around sex, as if everything they do is just have sex with each other. But I'm sure with 26 years of marriage in place, you have been going through everything that a heterosexual marriage goes through.
Exactly.
Making ends meet, earning for the household, making a house, and in the process having difference of opinions, having stresses. And so I want you to give a holistic picture of what a gay marriage is to the people.
At the risk of sounding that it's going to be boring.
No, but it's
But
very
it's-
important.
Yes.
Why this community is on the stigma is it's very important because why this community is stigmatized. One of the major reason is people believe it's all about sex, and which is taboo for most of the cultures.
Yes.
If people start to believe that sex is only a very tiny part of it, and there is a whole range of relationships, love, support, and care, maybe people start to change this. So it's very important.
Yes.
And that's because the war that took place, the battle that has taken place, has been drawn along the lines of sexual behavior.
Yes.
And not about all the other things where we share in common.
Yeah.
And one of the things we realized that when we started our marriage together, it was actually a joint marriage which had both Danish customs as well as Hindu-Indian customs.
Great.
So we had that merger. And
The ceremony
the
and all
ceremony.
that.
We created our own ceremony. We weren't going to follow what the temple was going to say or the church was going to say. We said, we're going to create our own ritual. And one of that rituals was the walking around the fire.
Wow.
And that is the circle of life. And so the garland, the exchanging of the garlands was also about this circle,
Yes.
the union of two people. And we had about 30 people. Most of them were heterosexual, but they all were there standing with us, and that is like the community that supports you, you see, and
the acceptance that
and
it
the
brings.
acceptance that it brings, that this is normal.
Yeah.
And I think it helped also that the fact that both of us were psychologists working,
Yeah.
that we worked in environments which were not discriminatory,
Yes.
because it was part of our code of conduct for that profession.
And that's why psychology brings so much hope.
Yeah, exactly. And we sort of modeled to our friends and to those who don't know us that this is how our lives are like, no different. It's not around sex. It's about two people falling in love and wanting to create a life for themselves.
Yeah. And one more thing that people perceive is, they can't have stable marriages. And your marriage is a model, 26 years of marriage.
Yeah.
is a model.
It can be done.
Yeah.
It's not smooth.
Hmm.
There will be times we have disagreements,
Hmm.
and we go to our separate corners and refuse to move from that corner. And then we look at our 3 dogs and say, we all come back again. We'll do something for them.
Just like children are protective
Yeah.
factors in
Yeah.
heterosexual
In
marriages.
heterosexual marriage. There's so much you sacrifice for them.
Yeah.
When they're ill, for
Yeah.
example. I stay awake late at night, comforting them when
Yeah.
they're not well. And we take turns.
So in your marriage, who does the cooking?
Mwah. That's because I have a long tradition of learning cooking. It was one of my first choices for an occupation. But because my father said, go into teaching, you do what your father tells you to do. Cooking is for the home. Yeah. But you see, through food, there is a great communicator of not only your culture, but bonding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
My neighborhood knows me because of the food I cook, because of the smells that comes out of the kitchen, And then when we have them over to our house for Diwali, for example, then they get to try all the different kinds. They get to hear the stories behind Diwali.
Yeah.
What is it all about? Why are we celebrating with all this food? What makes this so special? What is it about light and darkness, knowledge and ignorance, those kinds of things? So they are all universal principles, which we share with Muslims, where we have lights as well. They also light lamps during their
When you
festival.
say that, I remember the conversation that we were having about religion. And you are a born Hindu, then you got converted to Christianity, then you also got influenced by Buddhism, and then you became an atheist, and now you are back to Sanatan Dharma. And you are drawn towards its ideology. And so what do you think about religion to do with your marriage and your married life and your journey? Because you have tasted a lot of religion.
As far as religion is concerned, it's like a banquet.
Yeah.
There's so many different kinds.
Yeah.
One of the things I learned when I grew up as a Hindu, growing up into that family, my parents had a very ecumenical view of religion. So that even though they professed themselves to be Hindu, they would go to the novena service on Saturdays. They would go to the temple on Fridays, And when we had our meal, we all had to sit together. And around the dining room walls were pictures of Buddha, inscriptions of the Quran, Jesus on one side and Krishna on the other side. And that was the background. So it was a very strange thing for my parents to accept that I was going to give all of that up and become a Christian against their wishes. I was only 13 years old then, so it was a real big thing. And my mom said, don't tell your father about it because he will reject it, he will reject the whole notion of it. Point is, it was my father who told me, let him go to Bible study class. Let him go to Bible study class. And
Bible study class.
My father was one of them because he's ecumenical. So I did go and I came back with a prize because I learned so many things, a book prize. And as I grew, I made the decision to convert and be baptized. And I had to keep it quiet because they said, your father will have a fit. And I said, he allowed me to go to Bible study class. Why would we have a fit? But never mind, I'll respect. I'll keep it quiet. Somehow or other, he found out. And he never said anything. And one day, I organized a conference among the churches in Singapore. And the topic was death, the final stage of growth. And I invited my father and my mother.
His research was on death acceptance that he presented.
And he saw me standing at the podium talking. And he was so proud.
Wow.
And seated next to him was his cardiologist. He said, that's my son. And he accepted. And eventually the whole family converted. Then I rose up in the church hierarchy and became a lay preacher as well. So I was both, in my secular life, I was a teacher. In my religious life, I was a lay preacher. That continued. I became director of missions. And eventually, when I left Singapore and came out, the church said no, the big rejection. So all the years of service and support out the window. You know, it's almost like a parent saying, get out of the house. And so that felt
was a
very big shock, big hurtfulness. The thing is, the people in the church who rejected me, who are no longer part of my circle, there were a few of them who related to me and treated me just the same. No change. And what struck me was not their religious views, but their humanity.
Yes, because religion is nothing without humanity, and if there is a religion who doesn't respect human dignity, then that is not any religion.
Yep.
You know.
Exactly.
And then after that rejection, you decided to become an atheist in 2000.
Yeah. In 2000, I became an atheist because I put all religion away from me. But I did remember the sun. And I did remember how the people in South India celebrated the sun over 5 days. You know, about the harvest and all that, and how important it was. A festival that I never celebrated, or my parents celebrated in Singapore during Pongal, I celebrated in New Zealand. And it's in the middle of summer. It's hot. And I boil the rice and I put it down there. But it is not a worship service, it's gratitude.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's what Sanatan Dharma is about.
Yeah.
You know, and here we have this ideology that body is not important, you know, and so what the body does is also not important.
Yeah.
And so what is important is your intention and what is it that you want to achieve through your karma, you know, and so the sexual orientation, I don't know how people will say that, you know, Hinduism or Shastra or this or that. Nothing in Sanatan is against it.
Yep.
It is the Advait philosophy which says that, you know, I and you and him and God are all one.
Exactly.
Aham Brahmasmi.
Yeah.
And if we are all Brahma, I do not reject you.
Yeah.
Because you're me.
One of the ways I explain it to my colleagues in sex therapy, there are 15 of us in that role, and they wanted to know what my journey was, and because we were very sex affirming, I said, look at Hinduism, because that's the term that they understand.
Yeah.
And I said, here's a statue of Shiva and Shakti, half and half.
Yeah.
In each of us is that male form and that female form.
And the female form.
There is an acceptance of both sides coming in union. It's just that in me, I seem to realize that I have both of them.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not unusual.
It's not unusual at all.
It's not unusual. And that is where close to 300 years of British colonialism in India has brought in very Victorian type ideas.
Correct.
And it has stuck.
Yeah. And some of them have, you know, being misunderstood as if they are coming from Hinduism, but they are not.
They're not.
Yeah.
In fact, Hinduism had far liberal ways of looking at life.
Yes.
Enlightened. I wouldn't use
Not
liberal.
liberal, it is the
It's
broader
enlightened.
way.
It's an enlightened way of looking. When you look at
enlightened
Khajuraho,
languages,
for example, you know,
yes.
it has the whole thing there.
And you proved your aunt that, you know, she said that you were going to come back, and you did come back.
It was my aunt. It was my aunt who passed away a few years ago, and when I converted, she was very shocked. She says, "One day you will realize and you will come back." A few years ago, before she died, I said, I've actually come back, haven't I? You did prophesy.
Yes. So, Dr. Tushar, any other questions?
Yeah,
I want this
one-
conversation to go on and on, but we have
I know.
limited time,
Yes.
so maybe.
One thing definitely I had much in mind. And it's again goes back to my research. One of the problems that this community have always reported is the coming out.
Yes.
Like all other conflicts, this has to come out. Otherwise, it kills a person inside. The problem is these people, especially in India, because I have only studied Indian population, they have this guilt, conflict, tensions inside because they know once I'll come out, I'll be rejected and I'll have nothing. I will not have any path, what to do. I will not have anything.